The last time that I saw Debbie in the house, we found out she was pregnant, and I didn't know where she was going. I don't even know if I really knew what the word pregnant was until I asked her, and she told me she was having a baby. And I kept texting her tummy and wondering if she was going to be able to stay, and she kept telling me she had to leave. And my sister Mona and I were just devastated because she took the blunt of the abuse for us, and she came up with all these ideas to help us out, and she would rock me, and she would get me in the bathroom. Debbie was my protector, and Mona was my bodyguard. So all of a sudden I heard my sister Debbie in her bedroom, and I walked in and I saw her suitcase open, and you know, years later I found out why my sisters and I couldn't stand hearing locks on things opening and closing, because I kept hearing that in the bedroom. In my bedroom, by now we had 2 separate bedrooms, and in a different condo in Thousand Oaks, and I wanted to go in there and say something, but Zola just didn't want us around, my mom, and so I stayed in there, and my sister Mona was downstairs, and I saw my sister walk out of the room. I was standing by the room, and I was crying, and I went back in my bedroom, and I remember this poem that I used to say that my grandma used to pray, and I would say, I wish I was not here today. I wish I could just fly away. And if there is a God above, I just wish once He'd send me love. And I felt like at that moment, you know, my love was leaving, and Debbie was leaving. And I couldn't say goodbye to her, just like my sister and I really couldn't say goodbye to each other before that. And so I got out a piece of paper and my crayons, and I drew a rainbow, and I put all 3 of us underneath it, and I went down to the stairs, and I sat there wondering, you know, how am I going to get over there to say goodbye to my sister? And I saw my sister and Mona hugging each other, and they could barely stand. It was hard for all of us to look at Debbie, because Debbie brought up the monkey. Debbie taught us to put the coins in the monkey and put it in front of the door. When we got our own rooms, Debbie gave us the monkey. Instead of saving herself, she saved us. I didn't get that much abuse because my dad had me every other weekend. But my sister... Oh my God, I used to watch. And I knew one day it was going to be me. And as I saw my sister head out the door, I ran down the stairs, and I ran up to her, and I gave her my picture. I was, I think, 8 or 9, and she looked at it, and I asked her not to leave, and I said, I want you to keep the baby, and don't leave us. And John got in the way. And he took Debbie aside, and my mom went past Debbie in front of the door and out the door, and she grabbed Debbie's And John stood in front of Debbie, and I never really got to say goodbye until I saw her again at the unwed mother's home, and I heard so many stories, and I mean, she got out, but she never really did. She had a really hard life. We didn't have a father, and we didn't have any guidance, and it was like whatever John said, my mother did. And at that point, I really wanted a baby. I did. I wanted to get pregnant, and I just wanted to have a baby, and I saw this movie with Napoleon, and his mistress was Desiray, and I said, that's going to be my baby, because I saw how she was on film, and I wanted her to be like that, you know, and I thought, wow, if I get pregnant, my whole life will change, and I think a lot of teens maybe feel that, and I don't regret it at all, but I regret a lot about not going to my dad every other weekend and telling him what they were doing. I talked to my grandpa one night, and I was on a hill, and I told him I didn't want to go home, and he said, why? And I wanted to tell him why, and I said, what would you do if somebody hurt me? And he said, I guess I'll have to shoot him. And in that moment, I saw my mom being shot in the head, and I didn't care about John. I didn't say anything. And he asked me, Wayanne, do you have something to say? And I mentioned my mom, and he said, you know, I really liked Zola. She was a good woman. And I knew she was. Because I had her when I was little. I had her before John. All of us did. She was great. She was really great. But the alcohol and the drugs and the beating, and she's just another victim like I was, like Debbie was, and Mona. And except he took his anger and his sexual frustrations out on those kids. And I think that had Debbie not moved away, I think eventually the police would have came. The abuse that she took was way obvious, and I think somebody in her friend circle or babysitting or whatever would have eventually found us. But, you know, I mean, that's if I could, I would, I shoulda. And that was the last time I saw Debbie.